Is photography dead? That's a question that professionals like myself have been asking since the mid 1980s when photography became electronic,
Yes.
when the new autofocus technology came into the market and cameras like the Nikon F4S and the Canon EOS 1N came into the market. So professionals like myself were saying, well, it's a new technology and it's something we didn't warm up to at the very beginning. So it took us a while to embrace the new technology, but still, photography was still pretty much analog. We had to load and rewind film. We had to go to the lab to process it, and for a time, I still had the luxury of developing my own film and being in the dark room making prints, black and white prints in particular. So, yeah, photography was pretty much analog despite the electronics on the camera. So, one major disadvantage was that if your batteries went dead, then you'd stop shooting. So that was the only trade off. Then came the mid 1990s when digital technology was coming into the picture. Despite the low megapixels, photographs taken by digital cameras at the time were decent, so they were usable. But the one major problem was that when photography became digital and it became accessible to clients, I started losing my business because clients would purchase the newest digital cameras and they would practically do the jobs themselves. So they would cover events particularly, and they'd be happy with what they got. And that was when my own career started going downhill somewhat. First time it went downhill. So back in the day, we had three separate services. One was the photographer himself. The next would be the guy who processed your film, or the photo labs, or whoever. And then the third would be the graphics artist. And this was, we're talking about commercial photography back in the day. So there's three separate services when it came to analog photography. You had to shoot it, somebody had to process it, and eventually somebody had to make the final poster, the final billboard, the final layout. So there's three separate services. But when photography became democratized and digital cameras started coming into the picture, literally, you're seeing a merging of those three services. People who were good with computers and graphics, well, Photoshop in particular, they combined the two services, and then eventually they picked up a camera and started shooting for themselves. So what used to cost three separate services, like you had to pay the photographer, you had to pay for the processing, and then you had to pay for the graphics artist. So let's just say that you pay 1,000, or let's just say you pay 10,000 for the photographer, you pay another 10,000 for the graphics artist, and then you pay another 10,000 for somebody, or for the photo lab. So that's 30,000 pesos. But then again, here comes this photographer with a digital camera and a computer, and then he'll combine the three services into one and just charge like a mere 10 to 15,000 for the three services. So there you go. That killed off a lot of commercial photographers, including myself, because I was never that good with the computer anyway. So there you go. Now, with the advent of digital technology and AI, you don't even need a camera, you don't even need to know photography to make a poster or a billboard or whatever it is, even in voiceovers, video, everything can be done through AI. So my question really now is, where do we go? Where do people like me go? Where do people like us go who are photography enthusiasts? What then? What happens now? Where will the camera makers go? Will they still keep making new stuff? Will they still keep improving the technology, or what happens next? Well, that's a rhetorical question, I should say. Just some random thoughts on a stormy day. Anyway, I'm just asking. So, if you guys have any ideas or where this thing is going, so please let me know in the comments. That's a wrap. This has been Direct Abs, otherwise known as the Shutter Maniac. Make serendipity happen while you can.